Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome to today's upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter and are appreciated. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's upload, shall we? So let's start it off with Fraser Island, Queensland, Australia, 1983. We camped in a lightly forested area on the other side of a small hill or ridge from the beach. There was a small creek, and the area behind was more densely forested. At nights, my friend and I had been walking up the beach far away from camp, so his dad didn't bust us for smoking cigarettes. On the last night, we went in the opposite direction since we had stolen some glass Chinese fishing floats off of some poor guy who was camped down that way, and we didn't want to get busted by him either. It was a nice bright evening, and we had a small fridge magnet torch and a small radio cassette player. We were in a rocky area close to the hill that runs along the tree line, where there's some vines and brush starting to grow, and beyond the hill, it was more of a bushy area. It was here that we smelt a disgusting stench. It was very strong, permitting odor that hung thick in the air. My friend remarked that it had smelled like rotten eggs, thinking it was something like a dead brumby or buried fish heads. We started looking for the source of the odor. Getting closer to the bush and shining the torch around the rocks, we heard a noise. Then we found ourselves staring at one of those old gray dead driftwood trees that are along the beach on Fraser Island. There appeared a figure sitting close to the trunk on a large branch that jutted off to the left. We were standing there with this stink in the air, looking at the silhouette of this tree. We could see pretty well, but couldn't make out the shape on this branch. First we thought it looked like a monkey or a kid. Definitely was not a possum, as it kept changing positions and stretching out along the branch and kind of turned into a silhouetted shape. While we were discussing this and shining our torch around, a huge hulking figure suddenly appeared standing there, looking over the branch and facing our direction. We remarked that it was some bloke, when all of a sudden all hell broke loose. The branch was ripped away from the tree with a huge crack, then thrown or dropped to the ground with a huge thud. At that same time, this figure gave out a horrible, high-pitched scream, which turned into a huge, deep, roaring scream. At first, I thought the branch had fallen on him, and he was in pain, but it turned into a powerful scream roar that seemed to go on forever. We just stood there in shock, then took off back toward our camp and slightly toward the water away from the bush, with me in front and my mate close behind. We could hear the thing coming after us, and when I looked back, I could see this huge black hairy creature running on all fours with glowing red eyes. It was snorting like a bull while making an odd, high-pitched whining noise and running on an angle towards us at great speed. It almost made a noise like hoof hoof the whole time, which was unnerving as well. I've since heard this could be air escaping from its diaphragm and not an aggressive noise as I thought. Within a few seconds, it was right up beside us and running on two legs, slightly hunched over. He was sniffing and checking us out right there in this bizarre, twitchy, quivering movement of his head, having a real good look at us, just casually running beside us as we were running for our lives and looking over at this thing in a shocked amazement. At this close range, it looked basically like a real huge, ugly, naked, hairy man. His hair was long and shaggy, his face leathery like an elder Inuit or Eskimo person. He was also a bit froggy looking, with a wild-eyed look, and a bit like a large chimp with a leathery bat-like face. His body was massive like a bull, but bigger in the chest and shoulders. His arms were huge and very long, but more wiry compared to the rest of his body. The arms were long and thick like a sloth and had claws or fingernails. And the hair on its arms was like that of a chimp but longer, with some skin showing where he stretched. Maybe I was looking at his armpits. Although his skin appeared to be all black up close, he was lighter in the face. I don't remember his feet very well, but they seemed to think they were quite flat. He bared his teeth most of the time, which seemed to be more sharp and pointed. Basically, he was a huge, stinking, naked, froggy-looking Neanderthal man, covered in thick black hair, and very animal/ape-like. At first, when he closed in on us and reared up beside my mate, I thought for a second it was a human, and it was now time for us to fight this huge bloke, as we had a slim chance of getting away. Everything went weirdly calm, but for a bit, and then we lost it. We started swearing and abusing him out of terror. Then he went feral and started screaming and grunting at us. He was grunting and snorting the whole time, with this hoof hoof noise and breathing heavily. My friend yelled at me to run closer to the water, so we moved to the firmer sand, and this hairy creature stayed where he was, running beside us, all hunched over, snorting and screaming like a mad, red-eyed black werewolf, all hunched over and close to the ground, with his arms pumping in an odd way suspended off the ground. He was running. He was turning to face us and really trying to scare us, screaming in some garbled language and snorting as he ran. He stayed beside us for a while before moving off closer to the tree line. It stuck by the tree line for a while, running ahead of us, maybe a few times like it was going to head us off, then dropped back, but we kept running straight. It then ran into the bush, sounding like a huge bull or elephant stomping and smashing everything in its path while making an incredible amount of noise. It was still going off at us with the screaming and stayed beside us, sometimes running in front and dropping back, thinking now, I wonder if there were two of them, as the noise was so intense. And possibly another one was stomping through the bush while the chase was happening. We could still smell it, and eventually things quieted down and we kept running all the way back to our tent, as we were sure it was still following us. We turned up exhausted and raving like lunatics that this huge, hairy creature had just chased us down the beach. That night there was this strange, chirpy chattering outside Then it sounded like a possum or mammal, but it was kind of creepy and menacing. While this was happening, I could see a long, thin branch that was being repeatedly dragged over the top of the tent. The noise was making everyone uneasy, and my friend's dad had said that he didn't know what it was, but probably some kind of sugar glider or possum or small branch just rubbing against the tent with the wind. It went on throughout the night, but eventually we fell asleep. We left the next day and never went back to that spot to see what happened, although we wanted to. I don't know about any tracks in the sand, but there would have been a clear track through the bush from his trail of destruction. All in all, I have to say that this was both the strangest and scariest thing I'd ever experienced anywhere. I've seen sea snakes, sharks, scorpions, centipede. I've been followed by dingoes and nearly trampled by a brumby. While eel fishing on many trips I've had to the Fraser with my family, but I've never seen anything like this. My friend was sure that it was a Dogman, and I felt the same. We had both heard of them before, and there was nothing else it could have been, no matter how hard we tried to rationalize or figure it out. Finally, the only other trip I had went on with his family was to Black Butte, where his grandmother warned us matter-of-factly not to bother the hairy men if we see them, as they often cross her property. Anyway, my good buddy, who shared this experience, sadly passed away at quite a young age. He wanted to see a yowie, but he did get to see this creature before he passed. We may have had another experience, maybe this was a yowie, near the Newell Highway rest stop a few years later. We had always known that what we saw that night, though, it was this hairy creature, and it was a terrifying experience to say the least. This creature caused so much mayhem and confusion, and it could have killed us within seconds if it wanted to. The amount of noise it had made was insane, along with the stomping and heavy breathing and the stench. It was like a nightmare. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. I still find it hard to comprehend the bizarre series of events that happened to me and my friend that night. Tonight's final experience out of Australia. 1994, July. Local man Pete and George, pseudonyms, were walking through a forestry track in the woods near their home of Orphans, which is situated 20 miles from the city of Aberdeen. When nearing the end of the track, Pete saw a dark figure run from the trees on the left across the track, disappearing into the trees on the right. He at first thought it was a man, but the figure left a strange foreboding in Pete. George didn't see the figure and was busy telling Pete he was imagining things when a face appeared out of the trees behind Pete's back. George was chilled to the bone as the face he was looking at looked somewhat human, but not. It seemed to have a muzzle and very strange ears. It darted away as quickly as it had come when George threw a large stone in its direction. The two friends then left the area somewhat unnerved. A few weeks later, the two friends, along with a third, were having another encounter with this creature as they were driving along the road into Orphans approximately 2 miles from their meeting. In the witness's own words, suddenly from the side of the road there came this great muscular hairy figure bounding out of which started to run behind the car. At one point it caught up and ran alongside the vehicle, not seemingly out of breath as it approached speeds of 50 to 60 kilometers an hour. Pete describes the creature as strong and muscular, red glowing eyes, body covered in fur, about 6.5 feet tall, jet black. The figure, after several minutes, stopped abruptly in the middle of the road, leaving the terrified car occupants to carry upon their journey into the Trophin alone. As the creature faded slowly out of sight in the eerie glow of the car's red taillights, the same or similar creature was also reported by a lady who lives in an isolated cottage on the edge of the forest that Pete and George first saw this figure. She said she's seen it on 2 different occasions watching her house. Fleeting glances through high-powered binoculars as it darted through the forest. Ashire's Dundonald Hill. If anyone has seen the film Dog Soldiers, I'm sure they pitched the idea from this. Even hundreds of years ago, Dundonald Hill was said to be home of this creature, and not many dared venture out onto this hill alone with good reason. The dogs of Dundonald Castle were said to become very restless, agitated, and excited at times while looking toward the hill, barking and yelping. Never under any circumstance would they wander up it, or so I'm told. People have reported a strange creature, call it what you will, on a hill right up to the present time. Frightening folk have told of shadows that haunt the trees. One badly shaken man relayed how, when he was walking on the hill, he heard whispering voices behind him. Upon turning around, he saw nothing. This happened 2 or 3 times before he decided to take solace with a stiff drink from the local bar. Another man reports seeing 2 ghostly, squatted-like shapes, featureless shadows trailing him from nearby trees. These shadows then merged together as one, growing to twice its size. He then also left the hill, not wanting to see what happened next. This same entity has also been described as being able to jump straight into branches of trees as the creature in Fife. Dundonald Hill seems to figure heavy in the minds of locals as an area to be avoided, but nobody really seems to know why. School children in Irvine have said they dare not to go up as it is haunted, but when asked School children in Irvine have said that they dare not go up as it is haunted, but when asked what by, they don't know. I've been told that there is a high count of suicides in this area, with several youths having been found hanged on the hill, although I have not checked these facts out. A gentleman of Irvine had said that the hill has a presence that exudes in oppressiveness, and claims that many friends feel this same way about the place. J.A. from England says she will never go up that hill again as long as she lives. She had recently been spending time in Kilmarnock, summer of '94, and for a day out decided to visit the Dundonald Castle. While walking on the hill, her 2 Labradors suddenly went berserk, running around in circles, growling and snapping at the air before finally slinking to the ground as far as they could go, with their tails tucked, crawling backwards in obvious terror. Then Josephine saw this huge creature, which appeared some distance to the side of her. She had not been noticed it before, and she assures us that it had been earlier, she would most certainly have seen it. It did not seem to be solid, as Jay could see the grass on the hill through its body, but it was covered in longish charcoal-colored hair. It made no indentations in the grass, and Jay, on reflection, thought it ghost-like. The thing that struck the most terror was its eyes, 2 long slits which glowed bright red. It had 2 holes where its nose should have been, very thick lips. In fact, it was not dissimilar to that of a gorilla shape, although it stood over 10 feet tall on its hind legs. When confronted by the strange sight, Jay began to pray. The creature, after a few moments, slowly faded out of sight, but the dog's attitude never changed, and the English woman felt sure that the monster was still around. Jay left Dundonald Hill in a hurry, not too far behind her whimpering dogs. George, who likes to spend a lot of time fishing, walking, and camping, decided to spend a night on the hill during the summer of '93. He took his dog Rover, who had never left his side since he was a pup. He arrived just after the sun began to set and erected his one-man tent, deciding to settle down with a book. He lay atop of his sleeping bag, fully dressed. About an hour, George saw a shadow pass by the side of his tent through the lamplight. He thought it was strange that anybody would be in that area this time of night. Again, the shadows loomed over the tent, and at this point George swears that he heard kind of a rasping breathing sound. By this time, he had come to the conclusion that some of his mates had come up to play a joke on him. He said to himself that he would not raise to the bait, and once again settled down with his book. George's heart then leapt into his mouth when the tent violently shook, as though somebody had tripped over the guide rope. At this, George went outside to look, his nervousness turning into apprehension when he'd found the area outside the tent totally deserted. He quickly went back inside the tent, securing the flaps as tight as they could. By this time, Rover was whimpering and cowering in the corner. Then the tent began to sway as if caught in some strong wind. George sat on top of his sleeping bag, now too scared to even contemplate sleeping. The secured flaps suddenly burst wide open. The dog, who had never left George's side, gave out this almighty yelp and ran off into the darkness. Someone or something then grabbed a hold of George's ankle. Slowly but surely, the man was pulled out of his tent. He could not see anyone, and he struggled desperately, but the grip did not loosen. When he then had been pulled about 10 feet clear from the tent's entrance, this invisible force lifted George clear off the ground, his head 2 inches off the grass. The sky was black, a clap of thunder rang out, and a streak of lightning flashed across the sky. Then suddenly the grip let go of his ankle, and George fell limp into the grass, petrified. George ran back to his tent, the sky clearing as he did. He then spent a very tense night, sat at the entrance of his tent, too scared to make his way home in the dark, jumping at every little noise that the night had made, which seemed to surround him like a huge black blanket. He had called Rover often, but each time, which seemed the dog failed to answer. Morning eventually came, and after packing away his belongings, he headed down the hill. He reached the bottom. Rover came bounding out of the undergrowth toward him, and they both went home together. George has never been up the hill since, and he has no intentions in ever doing so again. He can offer no explanation on what happened to him, only that he was a very real experience. He does express hurt at his dog leaving him, a thing which has never done before. Just a footnote: yellow frogs have been found around the actual castle, as well as some red markings. Dundonald Hill and the surrounding area has been a source of mysterious phenomena. Large cats have been seen in the area for decades. It's long been a UFO hotspot. The castle sits atop of a hill, has its fair share of ghosts as well. That was pretty awesome. That whole area, that Dundonald Hill area, has a creature running around very similar to what was depicted in the movie Dog Soldiers. Man, that is cool. Very cool. All right, let's get into tonight's second part of the upload. We're going back to the United States for this one, in that great state of Kentucky. Last year, in June of 2022, 17 cats went missing from my ranch. I have a private rescue providing heated cat hotels, food, a lake, 7 stalls, a medical care for 40 to 45 cats. We have bear, mountain lion, and deer as well, all wild. This is on the Kentucky-Tennessee state line. One morning, last August, my German Shepherd and I were on our morning walk when a vomit-inducing stench crossed our winds. It was a horrid smell of urine, dead rotting flesh, and feces. My dog started growling as we approached the end of our 29-foot camper in the driveway. He then went nuts, charging against his leash, barking, jumping 4 to 5 feet in the air, right in front of us. Then he pinned his shoulder to my knee and pulled me to the left, then back to the center, then back to right, back to center, this whole time staring up at a 45-degree angle. The hair on my neck rised slowly, and I pulled my .44 caliber pistol for a possible shot from the hip. I practice hip shooting a lot. I noticed with the barrel pointed out, it was level with the ground, but when I pointed it to where my dog's nose was pointed, it was 8 to 9 feet above the ground. I have trained most of my life to remain calm during a crisis. Noting how high the muzzle was pointed, the stench, my dog's behavior, and my location, I thought I may be looking at some sort of cloaked Bigfoot, or some sort of creature invisible to humans but not dogs. I began talking to it in a calm, slow, baritone command voice. I told it that I was tired of it killing my cats. My cats are my kids. Feeding them, housing them, giving them meds, and protecting them is my job. If it didn't stop using them as snacks, that I would kill it. I don't want to kill it, but I will, I said. Stop killing my cats. There are a lot more humans than there are of your type. How would you like to be hunted down? As I finished, my dog sat, but continued to stare 9 feet off the ground. Soon the stench was gone and my dog relaxed. Over the next couple of months, I began to see rabbit, skunk, deer, and coyote, and my cat stopped disappearing. I'm a retired airline pilot and former Special Force soldier. And I also worked 10 years as a police officer. I live near Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I am a believer. Tonight's final bit of information is very strange and very disturbing. And you will soon see why. The events took place in December of 2022 in Colville National Park, northeastern part of Washington State, in an area near Big Meadow Lake. The man that reached out to me via email was a former forest ranger, and we had talked for about 15, maybe 20 minutes. Today, he didn't want to get too deep into it. He was forced into early retirement. In December of 2022, there was a investment banker and another young man the investment banker, was in his 30s, lived in Moscow, Idaho, which is north central Idaho, which I want you to think about this in a second about what went down. He and his friend were found torn apart. This forest ranger and another forest ranger had stumbled upon their makeshift campsite. They were camping illegally in the area of Big Meadow Lake. Now, they then called they then called the state police. The state police came, looked around. After the state police came in, a helicopter landed in Meadow Creek Road / Settlers Way, or 2695, and he was sent with a pickup truck to pick up 6 men that emerged from this helicopter. Crazy enough, these 6 men went hunting after something that he was not privy to seeing. He did hear a large firefight erupt, or not even a firefight, a large just barrage of bullets flying. Something was lugged out of the woods. He and his buddy were forced out of the area, and they then these 6 men took the pickup truck. After whatever was loaded into the back of the pickup truck, they brought the pickup truck back, or actually one person brought the pickup truck back, and they loaded up the 2 bodies of the men in the back of the pickup truck and were escorted back to the helicopter, where the 5 remaining men were standing outside of the helicopter. They loaded the bodies of the 2 men in the helicopter. As they were loading the bodies in, not the park rangers. The park rangers were kept away from the helicopter. But as the bodies were being loaded into the helicopter, this park ranger had caught sight of some sort of foot and the lower part of the leg. It was a large, thick leg. It had an odd-shaped foot. He said it looked to have 3 to 4 kind of toes with a elongated heel. The leg was hairy, the foot was hairy, and there was kind of a long toenail-like claw on each toe. He didn't see anything else other than that. He did say that it was not a bear. 100% was not a bear. This is strange, and he told me why this is all strange, okay? This location where this happened was almost a straight line from where the experience in the Kootenai National Forest in Montana, just on the Idaho Panhandle there, occurred. So, literally a straight line. There had been a Dogman attack in that area, if you don't recall, where the people were brought to Maelstrom. He said, I found that strange when I heard that experience on your channel. But what he found even stranger was where these people were from. These two young men, they were in their 30s. And he kept looking and asking questions, and he thinks that's why he was let go, is because he couldn't stop asking questions. These young men were from Moscow, Idaho, where the 4 college students were killed a month previous. This has nothing to do with that case, but he believes firmly that the deaths of these men were covered up and just kind of swept under the rug because of a incredibly disgusting homicide that occurred in Moscow, those 4 college students. But he truly believes that that's why he was fired, because he couldn't stop asking questions about it, and he kept looking into it. And every time he'd look into it and he couldn't find any information about these guys, why aren't they talking about these guys, in Idaho? When are we going to talk about this? What's going on? What was the foot that I saw? Shortly thereafter, he was due up for retirement in like 6 or 7 years, he said. He got a full retirement package, and said, just take it and go. Live the rest of your life. He always found that odd. He's been sitting on this for, about 6 or 7 months. And he is 100% sure that this was a cover-up, and that the government took full advantage of that homicide taking place to cover this up. He said whatever the creature was, that the men that loaded it in the truck, there was no blood. There was almost nothing that was even reminiscent of something being in the back of the truck. But the 2 young men, and I say young because I'm 47, they're 30, they were not, there was blood and remnants from them, even though they were in body bags. This creature was wrapped in a tarp, but that's how secretive they were. They cleaned the back of the truck before even driving back to pick up the men, the 2 bodies. All right, folks, some absolutely just terrifying experiences right there. The other day, I did an interview with a gentleman from Texas. His name was Nick. And he and I had talked a lot, actually, before and after the interview. And we talked about the location where Tom Mezek disappeared. Now, I plan on going up there Sunday. I know it's now Wednesday, but it's -degree weather up here right now. And it's probably going to be a pain in the butt getting into Lily Pond Road, even with an all-wheel drive SUV. So I'm going to probably go on Sunday, park close to the lake and hike in with my snowshoes. But he was asking about the video, and he hadn't seen it, but he's heard me talk about it. And I said, well, sometime this week I will put it at the end of
one of the videos or one of the uploads that I put out this week. And right here it is. Now, there is a portion of this video, and no matter how many times I have said this, there's always a few people that insist on they know more than New York State park rangers and people who deal with these animals. There's an area or a portion of the video where I blow the shofar and something responds, and it responds going away from me. And a few people are like, that's an owl. No, it's not. I brought the video footage to Cornell Cooperative Extension. It's an educational area, educational establishment on environmental conservation and such. And it's run by New York State park rangers, wildlife officials, and such. And I played it for a few park rangers up there. And all of them have agreed with me that it is not an owl. One of the guys that's close to retirement, that pretty much lives in the woods every day of the year, he said he's never heard an owl ever sound remotely like that. And just because of how it responds, he can see where people would say it would be an owl. And I shared, I was like, this is what my channel on YouTube is about. This is who I am. What do you think it is? And he's just baffled. But he does not believe that it is an owl at all, out of the 6 that we have in upstate New York. So here's that video.
All right, so we're coming up to it. 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 All right, guys, we're back in Horicon, New York, where Tom Mezek disappeared. One of my favorite places, actually, to be. Even though I had a scare just the last time I was here. But there seems to be some noise today, and I'm gonna be going up this trail just to kind of spend some time here, see if we can catch anything. Hopefully we don't, but I'll spin the camera around so you guys can see whereabouts I'm at, and just talk a little bit, and then we'll get to a spot, and I got some encounters to share with you guys. Hang on one second. All right, so the camera is spun around, and that is what is in front of me. That is what is aside of me. It's funny, last time I was here, I read in the comment section, a guy's like, there's a bunch of trees that are cut down. There are no trees that are cut down. This is broken limbs, broken trees. But you can't make everyone happy, right? I guess that's the thing. That's pretty cool. But I am glad that there is some noise today. Most definitely. So find a location and kind of like I'm flat. That's the incline. And it is beautiful out. It's not humid. Absolutely gorgeous today. There's the trail that I came down through. Absolutely gorgeous here. So last time I was here, I caught something running across the trails. I don't know what that was. It scared me pretty badly. Whew. Getting winded here. Absolutely gorgeous. Just a beautiful location. It did kind of silence out though, a little bit. But, oh well. Let's set up and, like, that's the mountain right here. I'm on the mountain. Alright. I just want to kind of give a look-see. I don't see anything around me, but we'll set up and narrate a couple encounters and just take a walk. How's that sound, guys? All right, guys, today's first subscriber submitted experience is from a former Marine. I guess once you're a Marine, you're never not a Marine. Which is I've always thought that was really cool, you know, because you have then dedicated your life to that division of service, you know. Really cool. So anyway, Jeff, I'm 53 years old. When I was 18, I joined the Marine Reserve straight out of high school. Combat engineer and bulk fuel specialist. Deployed in the first Gulf War, and now a disabled veteran. My dad was a two-tour Vietnam vet with the 101st Airborne Rangers, 20-year veteran. I grew up fishing very young. My dad and I used to go hard to get to the fishing spots. I was about 7 years old. In Yakima, Washington, my dad was stationed there for a few years. We'd gone fishing at our favorite spot. My dad had gone around the lake and I stayed near the car. Holy fuck, guys, we're out of here. We're out of here. What the fuck was that? Wow, I'm back at my car. There's nobody here. Dude, that was beyond, like, I'm shaking. It just took me at least 10 minutes to run down that mountain. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you where everything went by. So there's nobody at this parking spot. Nobody. That's my car. Whatever knocked that tree down was up in here somewhere. I don't care if anyone calls me a coward, man. I saw something. I don't know what that was, but you guys saw me. I was narrating that. I'm not going back up there today. I'm going home. My chest hurts. That was unbelievable. I don't think I've ever been that scared. That was more scary than what occurred the other day when I caught whatever ran across the trail. I don't know if you guys can see right there. There's that orange tag on that one tree. Those are tags that they use to grid this area off to search for Tom Mezek. Holy cow. I've only been here for 20 minutes. All right, I'm sorry guys, I can't stay here today. I am just way beyond freaked out. And now, it was silent for a few minutes though, if you think about it, while I was narrating. And now once that happened, now you hear a bird. But I'm also about 1/8 of a mile away. All right, guys. We are in upstate New York in the Adirondacks. Snow is on the ground. In today's video, I said I would be doing the shofar from where Tom Mezek disappeared. And that's where we are. Never been here this late in the year. I'll spin the camera around so you guys can check it out. It's pretty cold. It's 31, I think. And just real quiet. So I'll turn the camera around so you guys can see everything. All right, so as you can see, we had a snowfall on was it Tuesday? We got 6 inches of snow, but then it was 40 Wednesday and Thursday. What the hell's that noise? You guys hear that? It's coming from that way. Hang on. There's a noise coming from that way. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's this weird, honestly, metallic sound. I don't know what it is. Not a clue. Kind of want to stay here for a second and see if we can hear it again. Did you hear it? What the hell is that? I hope my mic can pick that up. Dude, it's dead quiet here. Something's up here with me. I can tell, and I'm not making shit up. It's coming from that way. I don't know if we can hear it. Hear it? What the hell is that? I'm gonna go up a little. can see. Whoa. Yeah, it's slick. There's some kind of noise over here on this side of me. I'm pretty sketched out because of that. I've never heard anything like that. There it is again. What the hell? I hope my mic is picking this up. Here's where, right here's our rocks where we were sitting. This is the location that I set that trail cam up. You hear it? It almost sounds like that's not a tree moving in the wind. That's like a metallic. I almost don't want to blow the shofar here. But you know what? I said I would do it. And I do what I say I'm going to do. So, well, there it is. And it's got like this faint. Alright, I'm going to get the shofar out. Blow it. We'll hang out for a few minutes and then I'm out of here. I do not like being here right now. It's cold. Cannot believe I said I was doing this today. There it is. There's that noise again. Okay, so this is a shofar. That right there was a tree. Whatever is over there, I don't know what the hell is. I really hope nothing comes and just attacks me. Alright, here we go. Dude, the wind stopped. Literally, the wind stopped. No wind. How weird is that? Dude, that is crazy. It's actually 28 degrees now. Whew. Nothing. Not a damn thing. Just dead silence. Wish it was warmer today. I'm gonna do a pan around. Behind me is, there it is, that noise again. I really hope my mic picks that up. I'm about 20 minutes from my car. I don't know. I think it's just time to leave. I wanted to... Dude, it went dead quiet. There's that noise again. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. That's not a tree. We know what trees sound like. Trees don't sound like a metallic sound. I'm gonna get the out of here right now. I'll talk to you guys later. Look at that. That's interesting. That's, my hand is extended. I'm 6 foot. My arm would put me at 7 foot. That thing is 8 foot and bent. That's where I want to go, up in here. A woodpecker in there. Hear him? So this is where I was. I'm walking just like I am now. I stop and I look and I'm like, let's go this way. And I do. And I mean, this is not, there's no trail here. Why did I get pushed this way? Woodpecker's still right up in there. All right, let's do this, guys. As long as I can hear that woodpecker, I feel like I'm safe. But there's no trail. I don't think the rattler snakes will be out this time of year either. This wall freaks me out too. There he is. Oh, look how big he is. Hang on. See him? There's that woodpecker. He's a big guy. Wow. Huh. That's so cool. Get to a different vantage point. Okay,
I hiked a little bit more through the woods, but these are the 3 rocks that I found one day. And to be honest, there is a side-by-side out on the trails down that way. A ranger, maybe. I don't know. Hear that woodpecker though? He's going top notch. See if I can find him again. Can hear him. Just can't see him. Time is it? 2:15. All right, so this is what I wanted to do. I've checked this area with a magnet before. I want to use the dowsing rods here. Okay, so we got an airplane overhead and our little woodpecker friend. All right. Is there any kind of entity here at all? Anything? Cross these things. Cross the rods. Wow. I thought for sure they'd work up here. Holy shit. Are you an old spirit? Open these up if you are Tom Mezek. Open them up if you're a Native American that lived in the Adirondacks. Alright. I don't know if I want to do that up here. I know this has a weird feeling up here. I'm a little nervous about being here right now. So and I know our little buddy over here is pecking away, but I'd rather be on the trail than up here during the eclipse. So I think what we'll do is we'll head out and head down and head back up on the trails. How's that sound? Whew. Behind you guys, right where the camera is set up, there's just a rock outcropping. I think I found a pretty good spot to set up while the eclipse happens. I had to check on my daughter in a minute. Call her and see if she's okay. Here we go. What the fuck was that? Guys, I don't know what that was. Did you hear it? Something responded. Those are all woods back there. It's all woods. Deep back there. Something fucking responded. It's calling. What the fuck is it? I'm gonna blow it again. It sounds like it's getting closer or further away, maybe. I don't know. Hang on. Let's see. A plane overhead. I don't know. Whatever it was, it communicated with us. Twice. It actually where it sounded like it was coming from was it's getting further away. I just heard it, and it's going further into the mountains. What the fuck was that?
And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go. And honestly, what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. Keeping an eye on our children and pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.